They told you the future was small engines, giant screens, and everything digital, but the customer isn't buying the lie anymore. And meanwhile, an old truck that hasn't been updated in over 11 years is selling like never before, like hotcakes. And not only that, it's outperforming completely new models that are more expensive and supposedly more advanced. So, what's going on here? That's what I'm going to tell you in this video, because the SUV I'm going to talk about will be a surprise for many, and for others, they'll simply say, I was right. Welcome. Because this shouldn't make sense, but it actually does, and you'll see why. Dodge sold more than 81,000 units of the Durango last year, a 37% increase. And this year, 2026, in just the first quarter, it already went up another 48% with more than 20,000 units sold. Now, compare that to this. The Chevrolet Tahoe, for example, which has many fans, many supporters, and was completely redesigned recently, went up 10% in sales. On the other hand, the GMC Yukon, another full-size SUV, has dropped 12% in its sales. And the Ford Expedition, well, the Ford Expedition dropped the V8 altogether. And obviously it doesn't have the sales results that Ford would expect. And this is where you have to pause for a second, because while all these brands evolved, I'm talking about Ford, GMC, Chevrolet, Dodge Durango did the opposite. It stayed stuck. That's what we're going to see. But it's winning the sales battle in the United States right now. Dodge even brought back the 6.4-liter Hemi V8 engine, the much-loved Hemi V8 in the RT392 trim with 475 horsepower. At what price? From $51,999. And yes, this Durango comes with physical buttons, no hidden menus, no complications. Recently, I've had the chance to drive some vehicles like the one we see on screen. That Rivian, for example. Look at all the steps you have to go through. You have to study a manual. You have to go to college, study for 5 years, graduate just to understand it. Nothing is intuitive about understanding each command, moving the air conditioning vent, or adjusting the mirrors. It takes time, causes delays, and poses a safety risk. Well, no hidden menus, no unnecessary complications in the Dodge Durango. Everything is direct, intuitive, just like it should be. But wait, because later on I'm going to explain why this old-school approach is not only working, but it could actually force the whole industry to rethink what it's doing right now. That's the real significance, not just of what's happening with the Durango, but of what could happen with the automotive industry. Something that matters a lot to you and me. Because now look at the contrast. The Chevrolet Tahoe is more modern, yes, more high-tech, yes, it looks nice, of course, but it's also much more expensive, more costly, and more complex. The GMC Yukon as well, more luxury, more screens, but less real connection to driving. And the Ford Expedition has gone for smaller, more efficient engines, but it got rid of something that many still want, many love, the V8. And here is that problem that nobody wants to admit. Not everyone wants efficiency. Not everyone wants little screens. Not everyone wants everything to be digital, those tiny buttons. No, there's a large part of the market that wants something simple, powerful, reliable, and that feels good to drive, where you feel that connection. And that's exactly what the Durango keeps offering, without pretending to be something it's not, without betraying its essence, without forcing you to adapt to new trends, new technologies. No, it simply delivers. But there's something else, and this is key. It's the design. Because yes, the Durango isn't new, maybe it's not the most attractive, it's not the most beautiful, but it doesn't feel old either. Dodge has managed to keep it relevant with small changes, small modifications, especially in 2021, but without losing what I mentioned before, its essence. That aggressive, sporty look with lines that still remind you of the Dodge pickups from the 90s, those vehicles that bring back memories and stir nostalgia, in a market where everything is starting to look the same. That stands out. And not only does it stand out, it sells. And that's what's happening with the Durango. This is a pretty interesting phenomenon in sales. Now, here's something that almost no one is considering. Dodge isn't just selling an SUV, it's selling identity. Special versions like the Hammerhead, the Brass Monkey, and the SRT Hellcat Jailbreak, with more than 13 million possible combinations. That's no coincidence. I mean, they're thinking this through. That's called strategy. That's about making you feel like your vehicle isn't just another one. And today, that means a lot at this moment in the industry's history. But here's another key factor, which is the price. Before we continue, if you're enjoying the video, please like it. This video will interest many people in the SUV market, so subscribe to the channel. Many watch but don't subscribe. So I ask you not only as a way to support this channel, but also to help people who are interested in this type of SUV that we're talking about, so it can reach more people. Well, now about the price. While the competition keeps raising their prices because, honestly, it's outrageous. I mean, come on. We're talking about an SUV that's just costing way too much. I mean, the Durango still offers options starting at $40,000 with a V6 engine around $45,000. The list price with a V8 goes up to over $80,000 in the more extreme, better equipped versions. In other words, you decide how far you want to go. Those options are really appreciated. By whom? You, the client, the consumer. You're not forced to pay extra to get something good, and that's very rare nowadays. And before I finish, I want to tell you something. If you're interested in a Dodge Durango or any of the vehicles I've mentioned in this video, and you're not ready, you don't feel ready to go to the dealer, I recommend you take a look at the description of this video, where I have a digital book I wrote called Keep Your Mouth Shut at the Dealer. Yes, where it talks about things you shouldn't say. Several things that many people, out of ignorance or innocence, say at a dealer when they're going to buy a vehicle. This tool, let's call it a tool, is going to be a big help, and it's very pleasant, very entertaining. The way I've written it, the comments people have left me say that they find it very pleasant and entertaining, and it's really easy to learn and memorize. So take a look. Shut your mouth at the dealer in the description of this video. Now I want you to think about the following. Let's think together. Think with me. And what if the success the Durango is having right now, which is what I just told you, the impressive sales level it's having, which is surpassing its competitors? What if this isn't a coincidence? I mean, if this isn't just, I don't know, something that suddenly popped up in the market? No. What if what we're seeing is a direct reaction from the market? This is very important against everything the industry is doing right now. Screens that sometimes fail, complicated controls that aren't intuitive at all, engines with little excitement, inflated prices. Well, and people are simply saying, enough is enough. Enough. We want the traditional stuff. Let's go back to the V8, and that's why they're returning to something simpler. Well, that's what I want us to think about in this video, and let me know in the comments. Something simpler, more direct, and real. Now comes the most interesting part. If the Durango keeps growing like this, other brands are going to have to react. Because when an interesting phenomenon happens in the market, other brands are not only paying attention, but they're also keeping their eyes open. Because they're really going to start to understand what the customer wants, what the customer desires, or if they're just following a current trend, because the market is already speaking and the message is clear. The Durango is selling more than the others, and we're talking about an SUV that hasn't had an aggressive redesign in over 11 years, unlike its competitors. Not everyone wants the future, at least not like that. Now I ask you, do you prefer an SUV full of technology or something like the Durango? Something simpler, stronger, and more personal? Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think is behind this sales surge, this success the Dodge Durango is having? Is it because it has a V8? Is it because it has stayed true to tradition, to the old school? Not too much touch control, but physical buttons, keeping it simple. Share your thoughts in the comments. I know this topic will spark plenty of discussion. And if you want to see another interesting review, I invite you to watch this video over here, which is really good. And here, really, on this channel. I love bringing these industry updates because they get us thinking about whether the industry is really headed in the right direction. And not to mention everything about electrification and all that. But it's interesting what's happening. That's why I wanted to share it with you. Well, that's all for now. Let me know your opinion down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, and I'm sending you a big hug. Bye.